What is going on, Gridiron fans? I am the Gridiron Guy, and this is my mock draft madness. Okay, now a lot has happened in the last week. We've had teams eliminated from the playoffs. We currently have Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady facing off in the Super Bowl. I actually think this is going to be a very epic Super Bowl. I'm actually excited for this one. Even though I don't like the Chiefs, and I don't really like Tom Brady, but I highly respect Tom Brady. Now, if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. Really helps me out. Also, if you enjoy this video, click the thumbs up. Even if you don't enjoy this video, click the thumbs up. I don't know. Helps me out. So, doesn't hurt to click that thumbs up for me. Alright. Now with all that being said, let's get started. Alright. We're not going to see anybody mock to number one but Trevor Lawrence. I mean, some people can play devil's advocate and be like, oh, well, let's explore this scenario. Well, there's not really many scenarios where Trevor Lawrence doesn't go number one. Unless the Jags trade out of that spot, which I can't really see them doing. Okay, so let's just explore it for a second. They're not going to do it. They're not going to trade that pick for Matthew Stafford. They're not going to trade that pick for Carson Wentz. They're not. They won't be able to trade that pick for Deshaun Watson. Even though they probably would make that trade. But they're not going to be able to because the Texans are in the same division. So it's just not going to happen. Alright? So, with all that being said, Trevor Lawrence, number one. Now our draft really starts right here at number two. And I really want to explore deep into the fact that the Jets have a ton of picks. And they can do a lot if they have a lot of picks, and if they decide to keep Sam Darnold and move down just a little bit, a couple spots here and there, they could come out of this draft with a ton of starting caliber players. First, second, third, and fourth round players. Guys that you would expect to at least make your team and possibly compete for positions on your team. When you're drafting a 5th, 6th, and 7th round guys, you're hoping that they make your team and you can develop them, but most likely you don't expect them to be superstars or maybe not even starters on your team. You expect them to be good depth pieces or, a scheme fit or whatever, just something. You expect to get something out of them, but not a whole lot. And when you do hit on players like that, for instance, the Patriots hit on, Tom Brady. He was a 7th round pick, and now he's the greatest of all time. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that you draft somebody really low and they end up being amazing. It's just all in the coaching and everything. But anyway, without making that too long, I wanted to go deep into the fact that Robert Saleh can turn this team around within a year, basically, with his attitude, with his coaches that he's bringing in. He's bringing in Matt LaFleur. Actually, sorry, he's bringing in Mike LaFleur, which is Matt LaFleur's brother. They're all coming from that Shanahan system, which we've obviously seen going back to the mid-90s, that the Shanahan system works. Okay? Mike Shanahan goes out of the picture. Kyle Shanahan takes over, goes to the 49ers. And since he's been there, they've had nothing but success. So, I mean, yeah, they've had some down seasons, but they've had inconsistent play at quarterback, and when they did have consistent play at quarterback, they went to the Super Bowl. So what I'm saying, I'm in a roundabout way, I'm saying that this system works. Okay? Even Matt LaFleur going to the Packers, he came out of that Shanahan system too. And he went over there, and the Packers were already ready to go when he got there, but they were struggling. Things were kind of like stuck in the mud. All right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some crazy trades here, and I'm going to move these Jets to a position where they can draft an entire team in the next 2 years and turn this thing around, maybe even win this division in 2 years. Okay? So first I'm going to start out with a trade between the Jets and the Bengals. The Bengals don't want to miss out on Penei Sewell. They need all kinds of offensive line help. So they are going to trade out. Okay, so we had the Bengals trade out of the number 5 spot into the number 2 spot. And we have the Bengals sending the 5th overall pick, a 3rd and a 4th this year, and a 2nd and a 3rd next year. Okay? To move up 3 spots to number 2. Okay? So now the Jets have traded down to the 5th overall pick. Bengals will take Penei Sewell. The Dolphins on the clock. The Dolphins could go a number of different ways. They could take Micah Parsons at number 3. They could take an offensive tackle. They could take one of these edge rushers. But I think their defense is pretty decent. It's top 10 for sure. So I don't think that their first couple of moves are going to be on defense. So I think they're going to go with a guy like Jamar Chase. All right. Now the Falcons can go a couple of different ways. The Falcons either want to pick up an edge rusher, a quarterback. They could go Micah Parsons. There's a lot of different ways they could go. But the way I think they're going to go is I think they feel like, they might be able to pick up a few players in free agency. They have a new head coach. So I think they're just going to build for the future, and this quarterback or this coach will go out and get his quarterback of the future, and that will be Justin Fields. All right, now we have the Jets on the clock, and I've already said that we're doing this in the mindset that the Jets are sticking with Sam Darnold. They are not taking a quarterback, at least in this first round. They are sticking with a quarterback, or sticking with Sam Darnold. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another trade. And we're going to move down again. And we're going to pick up a ton of picks for the Jets. And the Jets will be able to build this team in 2 years. Maybe less. All right. So now we had the 49ers trade up to number 5. And the terms of the pick are the 49ers get the 5th overall pick. They give up their first round pick this year, a second round pick this year, a 4th round pick this year, and a 1st and a 4th next year. And they move up to number 5 because Zach Wilson's on the board. And they want Zach Wilson. So they gave up all that. They gave up all this. 2 first-round picks. Well, not really 2 first-round picks. But a first-round pick next year. 2 4s and a 2 to move up to get Zach Wilson. Because they feel like they are a quarterback away, a productive quarterback away from being able to make something of themselves. They have a great defense already there. Even if they lose Robert Saleh, there's a lot of talent on that defense. It won't matter a whole lot. Okay? All right. So now we have the Eagles on the board. The Eagles with Jamar Chase off the board, they got to make something happen. They got to have some offense. I think they go Devonta Smith. They got to keep up in that division. That division is, you know, they just need something to put themselves over the top in some of those other teams. All right, now so Matthew Stafford is getting traded, okay, but whomever you bring in at quarterback, you know, I doubt the Lions are going to trade away Matthew Stafford and then trade for one of these other quarterbacks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold tight. The Lions are not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. They're going to wait till the second round because I have a plan and I have an idea. And you have to stay tuned in because I'm doing a 2-round mock draft. And this is the first round. I'll be releasing the second round later. Okay? So stay tuned for that. And this is part of a 2-round mock draft that I'm releasing as the first round and then as the first and second round later to show everybody everything that I did. Okay? As well as a Jets video on this entire draft scenario. Okay? So, Lions are holding tight. They're going to take Jallen Waddle. Okay? Because they are losing a crap ton of wide receiver help as well. You can't really bring in a quarterback and not have anybody for him to throw to. So, if you bring in a guy like Jallen Waddle, he's going to be good to go. Day 1. Day 1 starter. Alright. Now the Panthers are saying to themselves, like, hey, our defense is good and young. They're up and coming. We're not totally worried about our defense. But we do want somebody to go with. You want somebody to go with Run DMC. It's Trey Lance. Lots of RPOs. Trey Lance takes care of the football. He's going to give your young defense a ton of opportunities, you know, to make plays and get themselves off the field and get the ball back to that offense. Not only that, but with a guy like Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey, you're going to be able to control the clock. You already have Christian McCaffrey, you know, but with a guy like Trey Lance, it will make your offense more explosive. Okay? With the RPO options, it just opens up more options having a guy like Trey Lance. All right? Moving on. The Broncos. I believe the Broncos are going to take Patrick Surtain. You know, there's a lot of wide receivers in this division that are elite, that are, you know, top-tier guys. They have to go with a guy who can slow some of these guys down. You know, you got Tyreek Hill, you have Henry Ruggs, you have Keenan Allen. You know, you have Mike Williams. You know, there's even 2 good tight ends in this division. 3 good tight ends. If you got Hunter Henry, Darren Waller, and Travis Kelce. Like, if you're the Broncos, and even the Broncos have Noah Fant. So, like, this division is stacked with tight end talent and wide receiver talent. You know, because even the Broncos have Jerry Jeudy. You know, so this is a stacked division on offense. And if you had a guy like Patrick Surtain, you know, it just gives you a leg up because now you have a top-tier wide receiver or top-tier corner to cover some of these wide receivers. All right? The Cowboys on the clock. Cowboys cannot afford to miss Caleb Farley. If they're sitting right there and Caleb Farley is there, they have to take him. They have to take him, no doubt about it. Okay? And, you know, the Giants on the clock. The Giants need somebody to anchor that defense. We're sitting here at number 11. Micah Parsons has fallen all the way to number 11. Got to take him. He's outside the top 10. He's a top 10 guy. You know, probably even a top 5 guy. He's probably the best defensive player in this draft. But some other teams have some really high needs, with top tier players at those spots. A guy like Micah Parsons may fall. All right. So, with that being said, now we're having a run on a couple of defensive players right here. Let's get back to offense. So now we have these Jets here again. These Jets are sitting here. All right, you have Darnold. You have a plethora of picks now for the future, like a crap ton. You have like 14 picks this year, this being your first one. You have like 11 or 12 picks for next year now. Now, we're talking 25 picks in 2 years. You only have 22 starters. And there are already starters on this team. They have 9 picks in the top 4 picks, in the top 4 rounds this year with these trades. And then they have 9 next year as well. So for them to... So that is 18 players out of the top 125 that you're going to get. And, we're talking about the top third of the draft, top half of the draft. If you're picking, 9 players out of the top, 130, 125, you're going to hit on some players. You hit on 4 or 5 of those players, you did pretty good. All right, so Jets. This wide receiving class is deep, and I would say if one of the top 3 guys was still on the board, take him. But since he's not, the top 2 corners are off the board. The top 4 quarterbacks are off the board. Not to mention, we are sticking with Sam Darnold in this scenario. So, what I think I'm going to do is get Sam Darnold a freaking weapon, for crying out loud. Yeah, Jamison Crowder can't be everything. Mims can't be everything. Mims came along towards the end of the season. But, what do the 49ers have that most teams don't have? There are a handful of teams. I already mentioned, Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry. There are teams who have great tight ends, like George Kittle. What if the Jets were one of them, and they went with Kyle Pitts? Okay? Get yourself a weapon, all right? Mike LaFleur is going to run a similar system that they run in San Francisco. So why not get yourself a nice, flashy tight end to go with your quarterback that you're sticking with? Okay? And now you still have a ton of picks to go out and get offense and defensive talent. You now just got a high-powered tight end to go with your new system. All right? So now the Chargers are going to go tackle here. They're going to take Liam Eckenberg. He's long. He's got a big reach. He is a true left tackle. He is a day one plug and play starter. All right? Vikings. The Vikings are missing out on a lot of these. They missed out on the quarterbacks. They missed out on one of the top 3 wide receivers. So I think their best move is to go offensive line and start building that offensive line. So whomever their quarterback is in the next 2 years, when they move on from Cousins, maybe they pick up a guy later on in this draft. Who knows? And groom him to be that next guy. Get him an offensive line. Now, Rashawn Slater is a starting tackle, but most likely at some point he will be moved to the inside. The good thing is for the Vikings, they need either or. They just need an offensive lineman to plug in and play day one. wherever they got to put him, at tackle or at guard. Doesn't matter to them. All right. So now the Patriots on the board. This pick actually gets a little tough because, you know, they would love Kyle Pitts. They would love one of these top wide receivers. You know, the defensive tackle talent is not as great as it has been in years past, and that's another need of the Patriots. But there are guys here that the Patriots would love. All right? They would love Najee Harris, Travis Etienne. Those guys are Patriot-type guys. You know, J.C. Horn is a Patriot guy. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is also a Patriot guy. And they need some help at linebacker. You know, Hightower's getting a little older. You know, he sat out this year. You know, is he going to be rusty coming back next year? Is he going to be a lot of shape? You know, who knows what the deal is. But this guy, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, perfect for the Patriots system. All right? Moving on to the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals have to go corner here because Patrick P is getting a little bit old. You know, they have a division where, you know, Seattle loves to throw the ball deep. You know, the 49ers have good wide receivers, you know, and they have a good system. So you need a good, sticky corner to cover. And also, you have the Rams. The Rams have a plethora of wide receivers and tight ends and everything. They just hit you from all different angles. So if the Cardinals go out and get J.C. Horn, that's not going to hurt. You know, like that's a good move for them. The Raiders have to go edge here. Joseph Asai is a 3-4 outside linebacker. So with Gus Bradley coming in and running a multiple sets defense, Joseph Asai could factor in. But if the Raiders already feel like they have a guy who can play that position, which they do, they have Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley can put his hand in the dirt and play a 4-3, or he could play outside linebacker. Or he could play outside linebacker in a 3-4. So if they keep in Vic Beasley, they don't really need a guy like Joseph Asai. Not to mention, Kwity Paye is on the board. They need to get after the quarterback, though. I think Kwity Paye would be a big piece. You know, he also fits the mold of what Gruden and Mike Mayock have drafted over these last couple of years. You know, he fits that make and model. 6'4", 277. They like big, solid defensive ends. You know, Max Crosby was a little bit undersized, but they brought him in. They bulked him up. He's now 270. They brought in Clelin Ferrell. Clelin Ferrell was like 265, 270. They bumped him up to 280. They like bulky defensive ends. Kwity Paye is already 6'4", 277. You know, he's already right there. You know, they don't have to do much work with him with his physique. And he's already playing at a high level, already at that physique. So I think that's a Raiders pick right there. All right. So now we're looking at the Dolphins on the board again. And the Dolphins, like I said, they need offense. They need offensive help. I think they're going to go Travis Etienne. You know, why not? You know, you pick up Jamar Chase and Travis Etienne, two of the best offensive talents in this draft. You know, you go and you maybe pick up a guy in free agency to go with them. And you just go from here. You now you have two talented offensive players to go with Tua. You know, you could even make the argument that Najee Harris would be good to go with the Dolphins, but you know, Tua handing off to Najee Harris isn't as important as having the best guy for your system. And Travis Etienne and Jamar Chase will make that team a hell of a lot better. All right. Now, Washington football team is on the board. Now, Washington football team, they need a right tackle. But they also need a guy who could bump inside to guard if they needed to. So I think they're going to go with Samuel Cosme. He's a true right tackle. He's played right tackle most of his career at Texas. So that's their guy. All right. Moving forward, the Bears also need a offensive tackle. They need a right tackle, to be specific. So Jalen Mayfield is the pick. So now we have the Colts on the board. And I think the Colts are actually going to go out and get either Carson Wentz or Matthew Stafford. In my personal opinion, I think they should go get Matthew Stafford rather than Carson Wentz. You put Matthew Stafford behind an offensive line as good as the Colts have, and forget about it. It's over. Like, that team may win that division. They almost won the division this year. They were one win away from winning that division. So you put a guy like Matthew Stafford in there who is way better, in my opinion, way better than Phillip Rivers. You win your division. So what do they need to do? They need to give Matthew Stafford some weapons. Continue to build. They're going to lose T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton wants to go somewhere else where he's going to get more playing time, more touches, which is crazy because he's in his 30s, but still, he wants to go somewhere where he's going to get more touches. So if they replace him with Rashad Bateman, pretty good pick. All right. Now, the Titans, who actually did win this division this year, needs some help, and Joseph Ossai is the perfect pick for them. Like I said earlier, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. He can rush the passer. He's got good bend. He's perfect for the Titans system. Perfect. All right, now we got these Jets on the board again. All right, and the Jets took Kyle Pitts. Okay. They're building this offense. They're saying, all right, listen, we got some things to work with on defense. They got Quinnen Williams. They have 2 starting middle linebackers. One might slide to the outside. Even if they decide to move on from them. They also have Marcus May. They do need some corners. But one guy they can't, pass up on right now at this point. That offense is terrible, and that O-line is coming along. But if they got a guy like Terrace Marshall, okay, I think Jamar Chase, we already saw that Justin Jefferson was pretty damn good. And everybody thought that Justin Jefferson was probably the 3rd best wide receiver on that championship team from 2 years ago on LSU. So now that Terrace Marshall and Jamar Chase are coming out, everybody's like, wow, they may be more productive than Justin Jefferson. Probably not, because Justin Jefferson went to the perfect situation. He went to a team that was committed to the run and used him correctly to throw the ball down the field, get him open. With them running a lot, he got a lot of man-to-man. And he's a talented wide receiver, yeah. But he got a lot of man-to-man coverage, got a lot of one-on-one coverage, also because of Thielen being on the other side. So it was a win-win for Justin Jefferson. He probably may be the most productive in his rookie year than the other 2 guys, or out of all 3 of them. Terrace Marshall if he goes to the Jets, and Jamar Chase goes to the Dolphins, both of those offenses struggled last year. Or this year. So there's no guarantee. All right. Now, the Steelers cannot just drop back and throw the ball all the time, constantly, 60 times a game. The old Steelers, the old Steeler way, played good defense, and they ran the football. You're not gonna get a big-time tight end. You're not going to get a big-time tight end, you know, in his draft. Like, Pat Freiermuth is pretty much the last one. You know, there are a couple of tight ends who are solid, but Pat Freiermuth, very solid. He has a chance to be elite. You know, so I say take him now, and then in this second round, Jaguars need to come up with some offensive line, you know, / defensive picks. You know, there's just the rest of the time. You know, now that they've gotten some help on defense or on offense. All right, let's keep it rolling. Browns on the clock, and I think they go Gregory Rousseau. I think he's a good match for that team. He could be a rotational piece. He could be, you know, starting right tackle or right end, opposite Myles Garrett. You know, they're gonna have Gregory Rousseau in there. Makes that defensive line that much better. All right, Ravens on the clock. I think the Ravens are really missing Marshall Yanda, and I think they go with a guy like Elijah Vera-Tucker. Now, the issue the Ravens had this year, they have 2 good tackles, okay? But the issue they had is one of them got hurt this year. All right? Elijah Vera-Tucker not only is an excellent guard and probably the first guard off the board in this draft, but he can also play tackle, left or right tackle, whichever you want to put him at. He knows how to play tackle. He's played some left tackle at USC. So if you wanted to, and you had that issue, you could always slide him outside to tackle. If you had somebody behind him you could plug in, you don't have a great backup tackle, you could always move Elijah Vera-Tucker outside and, you know, just kind of piece things together at the guard position. But, you know, Elijah Vera-Tucker helps out your offensive line extremely. All right. Saints on the board. The Saints' biggest problem was being able to stop Tom Brady when it mattered. And I think this pick needs to be defense. I think that defense is really good, but it's getting a little bit old. But I think if you added a big force in the middle, like Zaven Collins, I think you'd be good to go. All right. So now we have the Packers on the board, and I think the Packers go Kadarius Toney. Get a Swiss Army knife, a weapon that they can start, you know, scheming up for, and just use him in a plethora of ways. You know, not only that, but if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, either this offseason or next offseason, Kadarius Toney could go forward with Jordan Love, and they could develop a system around those two, you know, going forward. But Kadarius Toney help out that wide receiving core quite well. All right. So now we have the Bills on the board, and I think the Bills got to take Eric Stokes. They need a second corner. You know, Josh Norman is not going to be your long-term option. You know, you need another young guy, opposite Tavarius White. You know, so like you need another guy on the other side. All right. The Bucks, I think the Bucks take Azeez Ojulari. You know, like, not that they really needed it because they got after Aaron Rodgers yesterday, big time. But one thing that everybody during this draft is going to have to realize is the draft cap, the cap is going, the salary cap's going down this year. So there may be some teams where you're like, oh, there's no way that guy's gonna go there because of, so and so player. Well, so and so player may get cut because so and so player may be too costly to keep. So you may see some. So this may be a huge free agency this year. Any teams in good position going into this free agency could come out of it with some damn good players. And 2 or 3 players in free agency could help turn your team around as long as you go out and you draft well right after it. So, may see some draft cap or some salary cap casualties on the Bucs because that's a team that's pretty up against it. All right. So now we have the Chiefs on the board. And I think the Chiefs take a guy like Alex Leatherwood. Pat Mahomes runs for his life a lot. Everybody thinks he's just trying to extend plays. Well, no, it's because his pocket breaks down a lot, actually. So his pocket breaks down a lot, and he tries to give his wide receivers a chance to get open. Yeah, so he extends plays. But what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of times where Pat Mahomes will hit the last step of his drop, and he's already trying to get out of the pocket because it's collapsing on him. So he has to extend plays out of necessity, not because he wants to, or he's trying to give his team the chance to make a play. It's almost out of necessity. All right. So, did you enjoy this first round? If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, keep your eye out for the second half of this video. Click that little notification button so that when I upload that video, you will get to see the second round of this mock draft. And I am the Gridiron Guy, and I am out.